everyone has a friend who DJs now. Like my grandma can do. You know, it's tough to break through just as a DJ in this field, I guess. And not to say I have some friends who are just pure DJs and they're doing very well. But I'd say on the whole, if you want to get your name out there, you really do have to be producing. On the other point you made about, not being creative enough or people copying other people.
Yeah.
My stance on that is, there's lots of different genres out there.
Yeah.
And I think, when you are starting out, it's absolutely fine to like be inspired by tracks within the genre that you're focusing on.
Yeah.
And take inspiration from, whether it's like thinking about the sound palette in those tracks or thinking about the rhythms or looking at the arrangements or how that producer sort of builds tension within tracks and releases that tension during sort of breakdowns and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's the way you have to start when you're producing, to be honest. And, I think over time, once you have like done that for a number of years, eventually you start finding like your own sound signature within that.
Yeah.
But that takes time. And you have to have regular sort of steady release schedule, and there's like there'll be like certain elements that you use in every single track, whether it's like lead synth sounds or like certain drums sort of sounds that you use in your drum programming. And I think it's a combination of those sort of repeated motifs and elements that lead you to be like, in your own words, like finding your own channel and your own sort of unique
ID,
your own ID within this sort of very saturated market. I mean, that's something that I'm still aspiring to, and like I still feel like after two years of doing this, like I still like feel like I'm at the very early stages of the process. I have like so many like tools that I want to buy. I want to buy like various like hardware sort of elements to sort of complement the music production sort of workflow that I have. And you just have to build up the tools of your trade over time and just trial and error things out. Some things will become like instrumental in your workflow. Other things will be used to solve specific problems that you might be having during your workflow. But ultimately, you just got to try stuff out. And there's so much free stuff out there as well. Like there's so many people putting out sample packs. There's so many people putting out sort of templates and, getting you to trying to get you into their funnel, I guess, from a sort of marketing sales perspective. But, it doesn't have to be super expensive, and there's some great free stuff out there. So, just try them out, and you'll find that over time there are similarities between the different sort of tools that are available, and just getting yourself used to the UX, I suppose, that synths have, and just knowing what each sort of I guess knob on the synth does, and like what each fader does, and like how the sound kind of moves through the sort of tool that you're using in order to get the output you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, just give it a go, guys. It's so much fun, and if you love it, it's there's an infinite amount of stuff out there. So just get involved, and not just the online stuff. Also like read book. There's loads of really great books out there as well, and try and go to face-to-face workshops and learn from others. I think is the biggest thing you can do. There's a wealth of information out online, but a lot of the time they're trying to sell you something, whereas like the best thing you can do is really get like one-on-one time with someone who's been doing it a bit longer than you have. And also just collaborating with people. Yeah. Like you'll have friends, if you're into music, you'll have other friends who are kind of in a similar stage that you are in your journey. And, collaboration is great because you teach each other things. Like I have a friend of mine, Will Lockyer, and he's been producing for like 10 plus years. And, even when we get together in the studio, like there's still things that I'll be teaching him in Ableton that he wasn't aware of before, and it's one of those kind of things like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So, until someone shows you, you're like, oh my God, that was so amazing, like so simple, but wow, it had like such a great dramatic effect on like how I created that sound or got to the sound that I wanted. So yeah, learn, absorb, and collaborate would be my 3 key takeaways, I guess.
Yeah. So do you honestly feel like you've got a very, very long way to go in terms of like, like maybe this might be the wrong or right word, mastering like your craft, like your DJing craft or like your production craft. Do you feel like you've got a long way to go, or you feel like, nah, you're quite good at it and you can only get better, if you get what I'm trying to say, or you feel like you've got a long way to go?
I mean, I always think that I've got a long way to go. I mean, it's every track you make, you get better, you get a bit faster, you get more confident using the tools that you have at your disposal at that time. And I have definitely, looking back on what I was like 2 years ago, yeah, absolutely, like I've improved dramatically. I have like a workflow for how I make tracks. I have like go-to things for doing various things as part of the production process. But there's just so much amazing stuff out there, and you just gotta, it never ends. I think music is one of those things that really suits people who have this kind of like always on kind of learning approach, in terms of like it's really very much like a mindset thing. There's of course, like you get some producers who've been doing it for so long, and the reason their sound is so good is because they've really become masters at the tools they have at their disposal. And it's almost like, I think they get better at doing the simple things really well. I think one of the pitfalls that a lot of producers have, and usually is like a big barrier to even starting in the first place, is like people feel like there's so much to learn, like I'm not going to bother at all, kind of thing, or like, but and I think when you start producing, you think the way to get an effective sound is by like having way too many channels on your project. And as a result of that, the sound sounds really muddy. The things that you want to really shine in your production are just like lost in the mix, basically. And I think what the experts, the pros, are really good at is like doing less and really enhancing each of the fewer sounds better. And that's something that I'm kind of trying to strive for, is like simplicity in my workflow, and doing the smaller stuff and the simpler things really well is like definitely a goal for me. So